thoughts?
No, not really. I mean, we're sort of 12 hours posted, so not a lot of time to kind of review the game as such. But we'll do that this morning. As I said after the game, tough game. You know, you're playing at Chelsea. It's always a tough venue. They're a good side. Yeah, I just felt we worked really hard to stay in the game, which is important when you're playing, a tough away game. Just really disappointed with the goal we conceded. I thought we had a chance to deal with it a lot better than what we did. And again, when you're playing away from home, that gives you a mountain to climb. But I thought our response after that was good. We obviously scored, got disallowed, and then we had a couple of good chances towards the end. So disappointing to lose, but I think there was enough positive in there.
Yeah, I mean,
I get that seems to be the main talking point out of last night, which is kind of consistent. That people tend to focus on the internals of Tottenham rather than the externals. But look, I made a mistake last night in that I celebrated a goal. I purposely, I think since VAR came in, I think I was up in Scotland. I think the first game VAR came in, there was 4 or 5 incidents. We were standing around, and I made conscious decision telling you, I'm not going to really, I'll celebrate, but I'm not going to really celebrate goals anymore because there's no point. You've got to wait for everything to get checked off. Last night, I just felt we needed something, and getting that goal, which I thought was a cracking goal by Pape. I'd obviously heard the supporters weren't happy, with my decision, which is fine. And my response was to celebrate and get them to make some noise now to get behind the team. I thought it was a real momentum shifter, that moment, because I just felt we did finish stronger. So I guess, like I said, my mistake was celebrating a goal, which, the VAR has defeated me again, and I won't be doing that again.
You said something about the season. It's not like you.
No, I'm talking about VAR. I don't get it how, as human beings, we are just so accepting of everything these days that I don't get it. I don't know. I just thought we had a bit more about us as a race in terms of fighting against things that derail the core of what we believe in. It's like these things, mate. We accepted them in our lives, and now we're trying to reel them all back because we know the damage they do. Too late, horses bolted. It's the same with VAR and football, but we just let it roll on. This is not a new thing, VAR. It's been there for a long time, and the fact that we're still taking 6 minutes, and the fact that from day to day, literally day to day, you don't know whether somebody's going to intervene or not. Literally day to day. It seems like everyone's okay with that, and that's where the disconnect for me is, because I don't. I thought it was a cracking game up until that moment we were all standing around. I never grew up loving football, and I see other sports where they're happy to stand around and they slot in a couple of commercial breaks as well. But football for me was always about the excitement of up and down, controversies, action all the time. Just like I said, that's where I'm at a disconnect, because it seems like everyone else is quite comfortable with it.
I'm glad you cleared that out, because I thought that was more in your general morale, because I can feel this morning you've got a bit of...
Oh, mate, I'm fine. I'm fine. No, it doesn't... These kind of things, I think I said after the game, Matt might have asked me about, the fans, and, I don't get affected by that, mate. I've been fighting my whole career. I'll continue to fight till I'm told to stop by someone, and mate, I still believe we've got a massive opportunity for ourselves this year, and I'm not going to let that just slip away, whether that's from external or internal pressure. I'm totally focused on doing that.
And
again, it's I don't know. I feel like people want me to say something that somehow will change the mood of the fans. Maybe I've just never done that. I've never felt like that's my role. My role is to try and produce teams and play a way that gets the support of the fan base behind what we're doing. it's not unusual that they're quite frustrated and angry at the moment. I get that, but at the same time, I think if anyone looks at that group of players, I understand the criticism towards me because I think I'm in charge of the whole thing, and I think that's fair enough. But if anyone looked at those players last night and thought they weren't trying, or that somehow resign themselves to their fate, I'm sorry, they're not watching the right game. I mean, the players are fighting tooth and nail to try and address our issues, within a really difficult season, and also, like I said, try and take this massive opportunity that's ahead of us. So, I think it's a little bit unfair to be targeting, the players in this situation.
Will you?
Hi, Ange, how are you?
I'm good, mate.
A couple of minutes ago, you were talking about how when you started watching football, and you didn't see players standing around for a long period of time. Am I wrong to say that I feel like because of VAR and how long it takes, you're kind of falling out of love with the game that you grew up new?
No doubt. Yeah, it's not the game and maybe I was influenced by England and particularly the old First Division. It was what I loved about it, as opposed to other leagues, was just the frenetic pace of it. It was always in English football. There was always something happening. I loved that, and it's kind of influenced me a lot in terms of the kind of football I like to watch. There was plenty of other leagues, we could have watched, but it was always the English First Division that was, end-to-end stuff. Not a lot of teams trying to hold on to wins. It was just everyone going for it. And like I said, it was the speed and tempo of it that I loved. And yeah, I am. I've tried to sort of design a game plan that has tempo and energy, because I think if you're going to bring people there for an hour and a half of entertainment and engagement, you want them off their seats. You want them, and there was 12 minutes of extra time last night. I mean, this is not, so like I said, this is not like VAR was brought in last month. It's been in here for a long time, and it's still taking 12 minutes. Now everyone say, oh yeah, but he came to the right decision. Well, like I said, that's what people want then. Let's continue, and continue to get this. I don't like it. I am falling out of loving the game because I loved celebrating goals. I don't, like I said last night, I did, and I'm paying a massive price for it. I'll make sure I don't do it again, but I reckon that's kind of sad.
I do like to listen to what you're saying. I mean, listen, as in take it in. I remember about a year ago when we had another discussion on VAR, you said, in every other sport, technology was brought in to speed it up, but not in football. You did say that, didn't you? Right?
Yeah, I did, yeah, that's right.
Isn't it sad that I'm sitting here today with a Premier League manager who's admitted they've fallen out of love with the game because of technology? Shouldn't we be looking to go?
No, because I'm the lone voice. I don't hear anyone else saying it. Like I said, that's where I said earlier that I'm disconnected. I don't think anyone else cares. It's like I said, it's like, we're just so accepting of everything in life these days. Maybe I come from a different generation where we used to rail against anybody who tried to sort of change fundamentals of our life. But it's, like I said, it's like the same as the phone. It's just like, you get a phone and you think, this is great. And now we find out that probably does more damage than good in our lives, and at some point it'll get regulated, but it's too late now. It's the same with technology. It was the same game last year here at home where Christian Romero got a red card and a penalty and changed the whole game, maybe changed our season, 12 months later, how can you not sit there and go, well, and you know what? Reflecting on my comments last night, I don't think I mentioned the referee once. I kept talking about the VAR official, which again, I always had the utmost respect for the officials. I sort of prided myself that I never carry on, I'll never get booked, I'll never criticise referees, maybe sometimes decisions, but there's no point in me criticising the referee because he had no involvement last night, apart from being dictated by somebody else to go to the screen, and like I said, you always understand there's inconsistencies because each referee, they're a human being. They're going to interpret things a different way. So you kind of know that week to week you'll get some discrepancy, right? But as I said, you watch the Liverpool-Everton game. I think it was Paul Tierney who was VAR official. Now, he was also the official for our Fulham game where I thought Lucas Bergwall should have got a penalty. Now, it's quite obvious that Paul Tierney's got a pretty high threshold. Fair enough. But then the next night we get Joe Gillett, who obviously has a lower threshold. So now it's not just the inconsistency of the officials, the referees. You got another guy now. I don't get it. But what you said, sorry, to your original question, isn't it sad? I don't think it is sad. But it's sad for me, but because I'm kind of the lone voice, I don't think it's sad for the game, because I think it's where the game's heading, and I guess people want that, and I've got to accept that. I'll probably, when I do finally retire, watch less football and try and find another hobby.
Can I just
Available all the tools that you need to sort of show that in the coming months, before the end of the season?
Yeah, again, it's not about me showing anything. It's just about, like I said, we have this opportunity before us where, we're in the quarterfinals of a European competition, so you can't just not understand the significance of that. So we're one of 8 teams that can win a competition. We want to, irrespective of what's gone on before or what's going to happen after, is that, don't let this opportunity slip by us without at least us, being focused on trying to achieve that.
Atmosphere for the players this Sunday?
Oh, look, again, I can't control that. So, as I said before, I'd like to think that irrespective of people's feelings right now, I don't think there'd be a Tottenham supporter out there who won't want us to try and win the Europa League. I just can't believe that. That they'd rather us not win to prove a point. So I'm hoping when the game's on, they get behind the players and we create an atmosphere at home. We know that the home game in the Europa League is going to be really important. We had somebody at the Frankfurt game last week, and he said the atmosphere of their ground, that was pretty loud. So we know we're going to face a pretty hostile atmosphere over there. You do that in Europe, so hopefully, we get the same here at Tottenham Stadium and give the lads a boost and give them the leg up they need to get a result.